Welcome to the Life and Leadership Podcast, where we discuss business, leadership, and friendship. I'm Zach Gable.
And I'm Jared Toach. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning into our podcast. This episode is part 2 of our presentation from the Kentucky Association for Early Childhood Education in Lexington, Kentucky. If you have not listened to part 1 yet, you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We hope you enjoy part 2 of this presentation. Okay, so from H. Jackson Brown Jr., live so that when your children think of fairness, caring, and integrity, they think of you. And in this quote, I know fairness can be a term that's argued over. We just won't touch fairness. But whenever we saw this quote, my first thing was, so your family knows you better than anyone else. And if your family, if your kids are willing to say that you are a caring person, that you are a person of integrity, then that means the world. If my kids sitting back there, if they were ever to pay attention and listen to this no joke. But if they were to say that I was a person of integrity and caring, that means the world to me, because they're the ones that see me at home. They're the ones that see the real me. And so integrity is not just being one person at home and then another person at work and then another person on Sunday, but same person the whole time, and being a person of integrity and character. This one from Zig Ziglar: the most important persuasion tool you have in your entire arsenal is integrity. And again, this kind of goes back to the trust thing. In a leadership position, if you have integrity and the people that you work with know that you're a person of integrity, you don't have to do a lot of convincing with them. You don't have to do a lot of persuading.
Because there's trust. And it goes back to another,
And they know that what you say is coming from integrity. And one other thing we talked about is if you're not a person of integrity, it's usually very hard to keep all your stories straight. What you tell this person and then what you tell this person. Because if you're not a person of integrity...
Have you all ever encountered that before? Like where somebody, like you don't want to offend somebody here, so you kind of give them this version of the story here. And then somebody else asks you and you're like, oh, you give them the full version. But then those two people talk and it's not quite the same story that was given, right? I mean, let's be real. It happens. Yeah. It happens. Yeah. But like thinking about yes, there are times you have to be very careful and mindful of what you say and how you say it. But then that's how you should be with everybody. And it's not that this person gets the whole version and this person gets the careful, mindful, but it's the same, right? It's coming from a place of integrity, of being who you say you're going to be that person all the time. And when going back to before, that was a great pop. My niece would have loved that because she thinks popping fingers is the best thing ever. Sorry, totally got sidetracked.
Let's share a quote from a famous person that they just quoted this yesterday.
Oh my word.
From September 20th, 2024, Jared Toach said, "Your integrity often enters the room before you do." And I actually wrote that down because that was really, and maybe you stole somebody's quote, I don't know.
No. Well, if I did, it was in the recesses of my mind somewhere, so I claim innocence.
Expound on that, Jared.
Yeah, so your integrity precedes you oftentimes. It's not that everybody knows you, but you can go places in circles and run in circles where maybe somebody has heard that oh no, they're a great person and here's why, da 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 da. And that goes, and then I think that leads to the greatest arsenal, right? Mm-hmm. Because then if that precedes you in going forward with somebody else, and yes. I don't want to sound egotistical or anything like that, but once again, my stories are my stories and that's all I know, right? I can't share Zach's, that's not my life. I can't share yours, it's not my life. It's my life. But when I worked in the school district, I had become known among some of the principal as an approachable person. And that was just amongst 2 or 3. But I had become known as that. And I started going to other meetings, and a few principals said to me, oh yeah, somebody said you're great to work with, or you're easy to work with. You hear people out on things. that to me is an example. And like I said, I'm not trying to be egotistical or anything like that, but that's about something preceding you, going before. So even with your employees, even with new people coming in on staff, with families, new families that come into your classroom, if now there are always families who nothing you do will ever be correct. So you just have to know that that's just part of the work that we do. But you will always also have families that know that if you are a person that is full of integrity, they will share that with other families. And so when their children come into your classroom, like that kind of precedes them coming into your classroom. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it really, like your integrity can precede you. I don't want to get stuck on this one because I know we have 15 minutes.
Hey. Oh, we forgot to mispronounce integrity.
Oh, yeah. Last night, how did we pronounce?
Integrity.
Integrity, because we were going very fast. But anyways, we thought it was funny.
We were going to try to
but
do
maybe
something
it was 11
on purpose
o'clock
and
at
see if
night.
anybody was paying attention, so.
That was our strategy. We said we were going to mispronounce it today and then see like if anybody like got an odd look on their face or anything, just to see if they were, paying attention. All right, so this one is authenticity. And we just recently did a little, I don't know if you want to call it an article, a newsletter about authenticity covering these items. So if you want to find out more about that or read that article, it is posted up on our, all up on our Facebook page. It's posted there on our Facebook page. So you can check it out there. But I think for authenticity, and I don't know if you want to take from here, but number one, being real. To be an authentic person is being real. And once again, we've already talked about this a little bit in some of the others, but you see how they all overlap. But it's being real. Like, I'm having a rough day. Be real about that. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. Like, if you're having a rough day and you know that it's impacting your mood, maybe even your visual appearance, because some of us are not very good at hiding our facial expressions, and that is me. Like, I am one of them. And sometimes it may not be what's happening out here, but it's what's happening here, but I'm still expressing something, right? So I struggle with that. I really work on trying to put a smile. But once again, but it's being real. It's being honest and saying to people, like, I'm struggling and having a rough day. Now, if you have a hard day every day, you might want to think about either your workplace, something that's going on in your world, or the combination too, right?
So Amanda just said earlier when we were driving, it's been a rough 24 hours. I busted the back window in our truck yesterday, and then back hurting today, and something.
You forgot your wallet, which you never forget anything.
And so it's just been very unlike me recently. And so earlier we were driving, Amanda and I, and she said, "What's going on?" She said, "Somebody, the look on your face and the attitude and stuff." And I said, "I'm so sorry. But it affects others around you, just that." So being real about, and I told her, I said, "Look, my back's killing me, this, and this." I said, "I'm sorry if I was grumpy. I'll fix that."
He's grumpy. No, I'm just kidding.
But this also goes back to being real, goes back to the authenticity, to the integrity, and the trust. And being real, again, apologizing when you're wrong, building that trust, not acting like someone you're not, but just being real.
I will never forget, with families, that was a spot for me that was hard sometimes, and I don't know why. Maybe it's a flaw in me, but sometimes it was hard to go back to a family and say, "You know what, I handled that situation wrong, and I really should have done it a different way," or "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it at that time," or in that moment when you have an employee that does something that you're just thinking, "Oh my word, that was really dumb," and instead of waiting to say, "I'm going to talk to him later," when I chill out, I go, "We need to talk now." Well, I shouldn't have done that, right? I should have just been whatever. But anyway, just being real. We'll go on to pure motives.
So pure motives. So who has ever seen someone or experienced someone or worked with someone who is just trying to climb the ladder and get to the top, doesn't care who they run over, who they step on, who they knock off the ladder on their way up? Anybody worked with or know someone like that? Yeah, I've seen a lot of nodding heads. So that's not pure motives. It's okay to desire to get up here. It's okay to desire the best of the best. But as you are going up that ladder, as you're experiencing that, bring other people up with you. You know, there's two ways to go about things, and having pure motives, again, it's okay to desire these great things, but how you get there.
Absolutely. So and sometimes I think we've all been in those situations when we really wanted something to go in our favor a very specific way. And we know that there's a lot of different opinions out there. And in the positions that I may have held in the past or that I have held in the past, you have that opportunity to kind of create this scenario where everybody has to say yes. There's no option but yes. To me, that's not a pure motive, right? That's self-serving for me versus, it might be a little messy to get to the final thing, and the final decision might not be exactly what I wanted, but if it came out of a pure motive, or sometimes we have to make decisions as classroom teachers in that moment that we have to just say, we've got to go with our best judgment. And I'm not trying to get back at this parent. I'm not trying to get back at this kid. This is honest to goodness. This is my best call that I can make in this moment. So coming from pure motives. And then back to core character, and we'll move quickly, but core character, once again, goes back to that integrity piece, the core of who a person is, the core of who you are as a person. If you want to be authentic, then that core has to be strong. If we think of fitness, which it is very obvious that I'm not fit, but if we go to that piece, you think about the core of a person, a doctor will always tell you, your core is important, especially, my doctor said it, especially as I'm starting to get a little bit older and things ache and pains and all that. But if you can keep your core strong, you're going to be much better. But so the core of who you are, in order to be authentic, it must be strong. If it is wishy-washy, if you're this way one day, this way another day, then it's not being authentic. I know we have to move.
Yep. Sorry, we're running close on time here.
Okay, so reflective, or reflection. So I think this is a key component for everything. And this comes from the Harvard Business Review. It is... reflection is a must. And I always say that one must know how to personally self-reflect before we can reflect as an organization, before we can reflect as a group. I have to know how to reflect, be reflective myself. So on this, awareness, when we talk about awareness, we're reflecting on being aware of our surroundings, being aware of the political, the social, everything, every component. So you are reflecting on that all of the time. You're keeping that in the forefront of your mind, and then you're reflecting. And then our judgments, we're reflecting on our judgments because we all have internal, external, implicit, explicit biases. We come with that. We all grew up in certain families, certain ways of being, certain social statuses, whether we like it or not, that's the way it is. And you have these inherent biases, and it's okay as long as you acknowledge, recognize, and you know that can impact a decision that you're making. So it's not that you can just rid yourself automatically of them, but it's that idea of reflecting and being aware. So when you're aware of your surroundings, and then you're aware of your judgments then regarding your surroundings, and then you're taking action based off of that. So see, you keep reflecting. So then you're reflecting on your action. And it may not start, so this cycle may not start at awareness. It may start at action. Maybe you did an action. You did something. You responded to a family member, a parent, a child, someone else. But then being reflective of, how did I respond? Was that the best response? So here's a negative that I did. And I'm just being transparent on who I am as a person. And you can ask Zach, I have perseverated over this for 2 days, and I need to let it go, and it needs to be a learning experience, and I need to go on. But so I took a rental car back because I do travel for work all the time. And I just took a rental car back a couple days ago. And I had got a free upgrade because I travel so much and you have a certain status, whatever. So you get a free upgrade. And it was to a car that I know mechanically, from just knowing a little bit about cars. I don't know enough, but I do know a little bit. Very nice car, very expensive car, but junk. You can just expect to keep the car for about 3 years, and then you're going to be pouring more money in the car than you ever even paid for the car. And I mean, it's very expensive whatever. I know that about the car. The car had about 50,000 miles on it. So as soon as I got in there and I saw it had that mileage, like my mind, just knowing about these like vehicles, I'm like, it's super comfortable, got a lot of bells and whistles, but I guarantee you there's issues and problems. Sure enough, started driving down the road. Like it sounded like the bearings were going out front. The brakes needed replaced. Tires were going low. Well, they were almost bald. And like there was like all kinds of little things about the car, right? So I get back to the car company. People were super nice, have always been good to me, like very nice, kind people. It's a rental car company. You know, it is what it is. They gave me a free upgrade. It is an upgrade because it's a luxury car, just not a quality luxury car. But I keep saying that. But then, so he asked me how everything was, and I said, I do just want to tell you, just give you a few things, because bearings going out could be a problem. Brakes going out could be a problem. Bald tires could be a problem for somebody. So I said, there's just a couple things I would just, like, I said, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just telling you. And then I had to add in there at the very end. I had to. Why? I was like, well, we all know these cars are junk. And I'm like, why did you say that, Jared? Like, did that really matter? And does he really care? And did he need to hear that? Like, he's not in control of any of that kind of stuff. That's just like, and once again, like maybe there's a great mechanic out there that thinks they're like beautiful, like wonderful, great cars. But I got really like, so I reflected on my actions. And I was like, oh my word. I wanted to go back to that place and just apologize to the man. Like I felt so bad. And I was like, oh Lord, please let him just forget that I ever even said that. Like I shouldn't, like he's probably thinking, dude, you got an upgrade. Like what's your problem? Like what's the problem? So I don't know, like that's part of me like being self-reflective of like, yeah, that was really not a smart move. And it's not that you beat yourself up all, you know, like obviously I'm still going on about it 2 days later, but you learn from that. So like next time, you need to watch your mouth. Like tell them what's necessary, but you don't have to say everything you're thinking, right?
Well, that's the great thing about reflecting is that, you know, anytime you want to get better, anytime you, whether it's in leadership or personally, whatever it is, as you grow, as you want to get better, all of the previous slides don't really matter if you don't take the time to reflect and think about, you know, how did I do today? You know, like me today, was I grumpy? Was I, you know, how did I act around everyone else? How did I treat everyone? And it's good to do that. And then you can grow and learn from your mistakes and learn from your good things.
Yeah,
too.
and I think the importance is, so then if you move from like, if we talk about just kind of being a leader of an organization, once again, it comes back, if I cannot self-reflect myself, how is my team going to reflect? Mm-hmm. Or if I am as an educator in a classroom with children cannot reflect on what I'm doing with the children and let the children know, especially if you're working with an older age group, even preschool age, like let them know, like, you know what, hey, I thought about what I did yesterday and I didn't handle that right. Like they get it. Like children get it. Like they're very intuitive. They understand those things. But even understanding on that, like you self-reflect first and then you begin to create the climate and culture of reflection. Okay, I know it's time to go. Anybody have any thoughts, questions, comments? Anything you wanted to share about any of the things?
Sorry, we cut it really close on time.
Yeah, we did.
So this is the QR code will lead you to our YouTube channel for the podcast. And the first 5 episodes are not on this channel. They're actually on my personal channel, but all of those links are Facebook link, the other YouTube. It's all in the description of the YouTube channel. So we'd appreciate your guys' support. And again, we're just passionate about leadership. We both have
full-time jobs outside of this, so this is
we do it for fun. We don't make any money at it.
Yeah.
We lose a lot of money at it.
So if you have he loses more than I do. So if you have your surveys, if you don't mind completing those, thank you all. And
if you don't want to complete them, we'll do them.
We will absolutely do them for you. So thank you all very much. Appreciate your feedback, and just make sure and leave those up here in the envelope.
Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Thank you all for listening to this 2-part series. We appreciate your continued support, and as always, we ask that you would subscribe and share this podcast. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.